Let's go! Are there outside factors when it comes to the LSU quarterback battle that will decide who actually takes the first snap in 2021? And we're going to go through all three of these points today, and I'm sure we're all going to agree on it like we always do when we discuss the QBs. Obviously, like the channel, subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 10,000 subs before the season begins. Let's go! We have to face the reality that the starting quarterback for the 2021 LSU Tigers will be Myles Brennan or Max Johnson. Now, this is not an anti-TJ or anti-Garrett Nussmeier rant. It's not at all. In TJ's case, the turnovers continue to happen. This was an issue he had last season, and it continued in the spring game. And both of his interceptions were bad, and they stemmed off some other issues he had as a quarterback. So even outside the interceptions he made during the spring game, there were some misses, and we talked about it in detail, every single throw that he made in the LSU spring game in our film study. So this is not me just saying something, because as many of you know, I love TJ Finley. Love that he is a great leader, and the comeback drive against Arkansas, and him getting 5 starts, thrown into the fire. Shouldn't even have played last season, because Myles Brennan, if he was healthy throughout, he would have been the starting quarterback throughout the season. So I like TJ. I really do. It's just mechanically, it's not quite there yet. And once again, the turnovers, they just keep happening. And it's not just turnovers. A lot of his turnovers have resulted in interception returns for huge gains of yards. So that needs to get fixed before we even consider starting him at quarterback. So I like TJ. I wish him nothing but the best. I believe he could be a Division I quarterback, and it's better that he's on the roster compared to not being on the roster. So quit it with the TJ Finley transfer. I hate when I read comments, well, TJ's going to transfer. No. The more experienced quarterbacks you have, the better off you are in the long term. Now, Garrett Nussmeier is a little bit more interesting of a case study. Now, he wasn't the only true freshman playing in a spring game. I mean, Caleb Williams, who was a quarterback LSU almost got, he was incredible in his spring debut. And Garrett Nussmeier was as well, outside of some really bad turnovers. And his interceptions were really bad. 2 of them directly to a linebacker, but this is his first 15 practices. And there were some real flashes of brilliance, not only with intangibles, encouraging teammates and all of that, but there were some darts he threw, some really high difficulty throws. And as a playmaker, he might have the highest ceiling out of any of these quarterbacks. And his ability to throw on the run, making plays out of the pocket, is truly incredible. But I'll do a video on Nuss in a little bit longer of a form. I don't like starting true freshmen. It just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, ever. Especially at a school like LSU, where you have, so many Division I athletes. There's just so much pressure on a true freshman's shoulders, especially at a position such as quarterback. So, as many of you know, I hated the fact that TJ or Max had to play as true freshmen because quarterbacking is so difficult. I hope Garrett Nussmeier doesn't see the field at all next season, because that allows you to grow. That allows you to get into a routine at the college level and master a game that's more complicated than what it was at the high school level. So, I'm not going to lie, Nuss exceeded my expectations this spring. Really special things in that spring game. The throw over the top to Jontre Kirkland, which was a dart. Him running to his right and fitting in a tight window behind Kayshon Boutte was absolutely incredible. And then a few plays later, rolling out to his left and throwing the ball to Jaray Jenkins on a dime. But the turnovers were bad, and that's obviously got to get fixed. But then again, he is a true freshman. He is, though, a guy that I can seriously see him winning the quarterback job outright next season, because, goodness, it was absolutely incredible to see this guy actually do some of the things he's able to do. Now, so I want to talk about the three outside factors when it comes to the starting quarterback battle between Max Johnson and Myles Brennan. And the first is age. Now, I've heard some comments from Chris and Jay Morsey, and I like both of them, and I love it when they bring in outside-the-box thinking, and this seems to be a sentiment with some of you as well. Start Max Johnson because he's younger, and if he has a really good season, the next season he's going to be even better because Max Johnson, of course, has to stay at least 2 more seasons. Where if Myles Brennan starts and he has a really good season, he's more than likely going to the NFL draft. And I get that logic because quarterbacking does get better with experience, and there's no denying that. Joe Burrow's experience in 2018 really helped him become the player who he was in 2019. So I get that. I just think that is not the deciding factor you should roll with if you're deciding between those two quarterbacks. Now, I will have a deciding factor in just a second, but I want you to really think about how crazy college football is right now. There's so much crazy randomness with this sport. It's not like the NFL where if you do have a younger quarterback, play him because he is the future of the franchise. That's not the case. College football is a real year-by-year sport because obviously your players only have 4 years of eligibility. So I get it. I just think you should just play the better player, which kind of leads into our second point, the transfer portal. Should you start Myles Brennan? Because, well, if he starts, he won't transfer. Whereas if Max starts, Myles Brennan will likely hit the portal to go somewhere else so he can actually play, and TJ Finley may also follow. Look, guessing what's going to happen in the transfer portal is a very complicated thing because it's basically a player's decision. And how they feel and how happy they are at LSU. And, I bring this up all the time, this new transfer portal rule where you could be immediately eligible basically anywhere, especially as a graduate, which Myles Brennan is, it's obviously changed the game for recruits. So, trying to guess what they want to do is tough. If Myles Brennan does get beat out, there is no guarantee that he's going to transfer. Also, he likes being at LSU. He has family ties to LSU. But once again, no matter what, Garrett Nussmeier likely won't transfer, so you at least, no matter what, have at least one backup quarterback that's obviously a scholarship quarterback. And I don't see a scenario where Max Johnson transfers at all either. So I understand that line of thinking. I just think you need to play the best guy and not really think about the transfer portal. So, if you shouldn't consider the age, or if you shouldn't consider the transfer portal, what about the number 3 thing? Leadership. Myles Brennan is on Leadership Council, and we've discussed this Leadership Council thing for quite some time, and I understand the Leadership Council is something that is really near and dear to Ed Orgeron, and we have that tweeted photo of the Leadership Council dinner, and Myles Brennan, of course, is on it, and none of the other quarterbacks are on it. And look, Myles Brennan, of course, is a great leader, and he is a great Tiger, and he's been through so much with the injuries and being a backup for forever and all these different things. But that doesn't mean that the locker room does not like Max or TJ as leaders, because both of them, as true freshmen, both showed some really good leadership qualities, with TJ's game-winning drive against Arkansas and Max's gutsy performances against Florida and Ole Miss, and they both work hard, and they're, by all accounts, well liked. So is there a outside factor that could affect this quarterback battle? And there is, and we need to start being really honest about it. The LSU offensive line is a problem, and it's a huge problem. And the simple truth is Myles Brennan has zero chance to perform at a high level behind this offensive line. And it's not his fault. But Max Johnson, because he is more mobile, gives you a better option. And not only is he more mobile, he is the healthier quarterback. He hasn't had a serious injury quite like Myles Brennan. You got to start Max Johnson with the way that the LSU offensive line currently is right now. And I've gotten a lot of questions about who do you think the starting quarterback should be? And if the LSU offensive line was better, I would probably say Myles Brennan for quite a few reasons. He does stretch the defense vertically with his arm. And one thing that is often tied to winning is yards per attempt thrown. And because Myles Brennan can stretch the football down the field better than Max Johnson, he does theoretically give you the better shot to win. And, that's just a simple truth. LSU's most popular play, according to SEC StatCat, was all verticals, a play that they... I almost burped. It was a coffee burp. I'm still drinking coffee in the afternoon. But it was a play. It was a play that LSU ran a lot with Myles Brennan, and it stretched the field, and it was obviously very successful. And Max Johnson just, he does throw a pretty deep ball. He throws a very catchable ball. It just doesn't have the pop like Myles Brennan's arm and even, TJ Finley's arm, which is special. So, that doesn't mean Max Johnson can't make a lot of throws. That doesn't mean he has just a noodle arm, a Chad Pennington arm. But, Myles' arm is really special. And, it could really give defense. It really gives defenses headaches. But the problem is, in order for him to succeed, he's got to have a good offensive line, and he doesn't. In fact, LSU's offensive line, the more I go back and rewatch it, and like I said, the film studies, the more I watch the LSU offensive line, the more concerned I got, because this was them just going up against, obviously, a really good LSU defensive line, but they also didn't go up against blitzes. And, when you can't block just a four-man rush, imagine what's going to happen when there's going to be blitzers coming from different directions. So, yeah, Myles Brennan is a sitting duck. Now, I know what a lot of you are going to say. Well, Carter, pocket quarterbacks have proven to still win. I mean, the national champion last season was Mac Jones, and Tom Brady was the Super Bowl champion. And we've seen other pocket quarterbacks win and get 2 Super Bowls and win a lot of games. Kyle Trask, whoever you want to mention. But those guys played behind great offensive lines with really, really, really special weapons. Now, LSU's got really good weapons. I don't know if I'd call them special just yet, but they're really good. Obviously, Kayshawn is special. But, the offensive line isn't nowhere close to how good Tampa Bay or Alabama's offensive line was. And to me, Alabama's offensive line is probably the best I've ever seen in the SEC, that group that they had last season. And LSU is just nowhere close to that. They're a huge liability in pass protection. And this is a screenshot from a film study. And this is Myles Brennan behind the second team offensive line. So, this is just a shot from our last one, but you'll see throughout the course of the film study, the LSU offensive line had some bright spots in that spring game. I thought Dare Rosenthal played really well, but the group as a whole, it's not there. It's not good enough to protect a pocket quarterback. Boom! I hope you enjoyed this video today. Once again, no live stream Saturday night at 7 p.m. Central. We're moving our Thursday night live stream for the NFL Draft for Jamar Chase and all our Tigers that are going to get selected. So 7 p.m. Central, we hope you check it out, okay? It is Power Hour LSU. Boom! Oh, we're doing swordfish tonight. I'm so excited. I've never had swordfish. Let's go.